everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Huck. Today we're talking about my plans for 2024 for my channel, for my reading. My plans don't generally have huge changes year to year, but I still like to do one of these little like check-in videos kind of talking about my plans for the year. What are the things that I want to continue doing? What are the things, if there are things that I want to stop doing, if I'm shifting, if I'm tweaking, like whatever it is. So, let's get into it. We will start with channel plans. That's probably the thing that is going to have more of like the most update to it, I guess, because if you haven't noticed, my posting has been very strange and inconsistent this year. First half of the year I was pretty consistent. Normally, you know, I've been on booktube for around 7 years now, and I usually try to stick to posting 1 to 2 times a week. Of course, with exceptions. I have never been the most like consistent or prolific booktuber, but I tried to stick to around 1 to 2 times a week. And then in the second half of this year, I kind of disappeared. I intentionally took a break over the summer, and then that break kind of unintentionally continued on through the fall. And so I wanted to talk about kind of what are my plans for my channel and posting and stuff for 2024, because I do want to continue posting on my channel and getting to talk to you guys about books and everything, but I think I am going to be kind of tweaking the way that I do it so that maybe it works a little bit better for me going forward. A lot of what has changed for me is that throughout 2023, I have really been reevaluating my own relationship to social media, both as a like creator on YouTube, but also as a content consumer, you know, on various platforms, because I think that the way that I engage with and consume social media has not always been great for me. So I have really been rethinking the way that I engage with social media, especially like as I took a break from it over the summer, just getting a chance to kind of take a step back and see what is my life like when I'm not, you know, thinking about producing content. And I think that what I have found is I do definitely enjoy having this channel, and I want to continue posting and engaging with it and getting to talk to you all about books and everything. But I think that I also at this point want a little more space than I've had before. I want to be less focused on having, or at least attempting to have, a schedule or feeling like I need to post a certain amount, and so I need to figure out content in order to fill that. I think that, you know, for years I have been a mood reader. I think that maybe I also need to be a mood content creator, and really just post when I feel like it, and when I have something specific to say, not because it is on a particular schedule, you know? When there's something that I think will be fun or interesting, or I just want to talk to you about, or show you the books that I bought, or whatever it is. So I think that that is kind of going to be my approach. Another thing that I have thought about from having a little bit of like time away from posting was how much it was that I liked having more time to think about my books before I talked about them. Especially in terms of reading series. One of the things I did in 2023 was I binged a lot of series, and I really liked being able to read the series as a whole before talking about my thoughts or feelings on the series, and being able to wait until I had read it in its entirety before trying to articulate my thoughts on it. And I know as a viewer, it's probably more fun to get more like real-time updates and see like thoughts and feelings on a series as the person reads the various installments. But sometimes I want to be able to really form my thoughts on the complete story arc and that series as a whole before trying to articulate my thoughts. And you know, a lot of times I can't finish a whole series in 1 month, you know? So having a little more time between when I did wrap-ups. My neighbor is making banging sounds. I'm so sorry if you can hear that. But hopefully it's not too distracting. But I just liked having more time to finish those series, or, you know, gather my thoughts and opinions, all of that. So that's something I also would like to be able to do. So all of this being said, what that means in terms of what I am thinking or planning for my channel is that I want to find some kind of happy medium for myself. I think I'm probably going to be experimenting a little bit with how I structure my content, how frequently I am posting. As I said, I may focus more on being like a mood poster. So there may be some real ebbs and flows in my content. You may get a month where I'm posting every week and then not hear from me again for another 3 or 4 weeks. And I might, you know, plan or structure my wrap-ups differently. I may do wrap-ups every other month, or maybe I'll do a seasonal wrap-up. Something else I have considered, because I want to be able to like binge series, is that maybe when I do wrap-ups, I might not talk about like every book I have read in a month if those books are part of a series that I'm reading. So I might wrap up like everything else, but hold off on talking about books in a series that I'm binging until I finish that series, and then wrap up that series when I'm done with it. You know, I have a lot of ideas of like different ways I may try structuring how I am, you know, creating content, what types of content I'm doing, how I'm talking to you about what I am reading and giving you updates and all of that. So you may see some changes, some of my like experimenting with what works for me. So all of this to say, like, I guess expect the unexpected. The thing you probably can expect is that I will be posting more frequently than I have in the last half of 2023, but less frequently than I had previously. Other than that, I don't really know what it's going to look like. Of course, there will be quite a bit of content in like December, January as I'm wrapping up the year, but it probably will kind of peter off after that. All right. So that is the channel update, a little bit of what to expect. In terms of my reading, my plans aren't changing very drastically. I am planning to set my Goodreads goal to 40 books. Usually I've done it at 50 books in the past, but I think that normally I've set it at 50 books because I assumed each year I would read usually 90 to 100 books, and so 50 was a good like middle of the road, easily achievable, and a good like marker for myself when I reached like, did I complete that reading goal about halfway through the year. But I think that assuming that I read like 90 to 100 books was more so when I would like push myself a little bit in my reading. And I think when I am, you know, making an effort to read consistently but not pushing myself to read, I actually read more like 70 to 80 books a year. And so it just made sense to me to change my Goodreads goal to 40 books so I can kind of use that same method of like, do I hit the halfway-ish point around halfway through the year? So that's kind of my plan, is I'm setting my Goodreads goal to 40 books. I am assuming I will read somewhere around 70 to 80 books. I mentioned earlier that I had been putting a real emphasis in 2023 on binge reading a series, and I have really enjoyed that, and I really want to continue that in 2024. I want to continue it with like new series that I'm reading and with rereads, which connects to another thing that I want to focus on in 2024, which is rereading. So rereading was not part of my like plans for the year in 2023, but it's something that ended up happening. I reread a lot of books in 2023. I think at least like a quarter of my reading was all rereads, maybe more. I reread a lot of things, and it was so much fun. I loved it. I really want to continue rereading more books. And you know, before I had my channel, I used to reread a lot more than I do now, and so it's just something I really enjoy, and I am glad that I made time for it in 2023. I want to continue making time for it in 2024, especially because some of the stuff I've been rereading is stuff that I have never reviewed on my channel anyway, so I get to like make new content about something that I have loved in the past. And then also sometimes it's rereading books that maybe I have read more recently, but I like to reread a book to really determine how I feel about it. A lot of times that's part of how I decide if a book is a favorite, because rereadability is a really important factor to me in whether a book is an all-time favorite. Other than that, I do have a couple of the same like goal genres, or they're not really goals, but just genres that I want to make a effort to read from, one of which is historical fiction. I am still kind of dipping my toes in the water of historical fiction, and another is science fiction. I have big plans for 2023 for science fiction. I didn't really follow through with them. I did read more sci-fi in 2023 than I had the previous year, which is good, but not nearly as much as I had initially planned to. Partway through the year, I just really wasn't in the mood for sci-fi at all. I started questioning whether I even like any sci-fi at all, and I was just like, maybe I just don't even like sci-fi. I shouldn't even read it. And then right at the end of the year, I got a sudden like burst of inspiration to read sci-fi again. I have found a sci-fi series that I really like, and so now I'm like reinvigorated to continue exploring sci-fi as a genre and figure out like what is my taste and how can I find more books to read, whether that is through subgenres or certain tropes or go-to authors or whatever it is. And then the other genre that I would like to make an effort to focus on this year is nonfiction. I really haven't read much nonfiction this year. I feel like every year I say I want to read more nonfiction and then I don't really, but I really want to. I feel like I have kind of been missing the thing that like nonfiction, like good nonfiction gives you things to really like turn over in your mind and think about, get some really interesting topics. One of my favorite things from reading nonfiction is when you get like a really interesting question that you can ask people, and it can make for some really interesting conversations. So as much as I love like getting information and facts from nonfiction, I love even more getting good questions from nonfiction. So I also want to really make an effort to read more nonfiction, because I feel like there's like a part of my brain that's not being exercised and I miss reading nonfiction. Okay, so those are my plans for my channel, for my reading for 2024. I would love to know, what are some of your plans, things that you are planning to focus on in 2024? Do you have any like genres that you want to put emphasis on? Are you evaluating anything in your own reading or the way that you engage with social media, or just anything? I'd love to know, what are you thinking about going into the new year? But thank you all for watching, and until next time, bye.